Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Lore of Braunhaven. And so today we're going to talk about the rise of Faunestein, the vampire lord, and his unique touch on the realm of Braunhaven. And keep in mind that the Glaustshine Empire does not exist as of yet, but that's about to happen. So in order to understand Faunestein, we have to talk about the holiday of Veil's Eve, and of course, discuss a little bit about the cosmology overall. And there's questions of where is heaven, where is hell, where is the Fey realm, etc. And we'll answer that. So, Veil's Eve is a holiday that takes place at the end of Octus. We all know what Veil's Eve is. It is their version of Halloween, and kids dress up in costumes. They go around town collecting sweets and the occasional Drockpence. The townspeople have parties, and there are costume balls, and usually it's a time of revelry, but most people also know those, especially those who follow the old gods. The old gods, of course, having been here before the reckoning. Most people know that Veil's Eve, the other side of it, is that this is a time period when the veil is thinnest between the prime plane and the shadow realm. And because it is so thin, the denizens of the shadow realm can sometimes cross over into the prime plane. And usually, I mean, not always, but usually that's not a good thing. And so, and you have to realize that the outer, or not the outer planes, but the planes of existence themselves kind of orbit around the prime plane, because as we know from the reckoning, the planes kind of collided, and and it caused damage to not just the prime plane, and of course the individual planes themselves, but also to the veil, and so it caused this weakening. And so we can look at the cosmology. And so this is a rough sketch of what the cosmology looks like. And so, of course, you have the veil, and all of these planes kind of rotate around. And up here you have the unknown realm. It's its own thing. We don't need to get in that. But and everywhere that isn't in these individual planes is the astral plane, and that's a whole other thing. It's a wide empty area. For the most part, you've got dead gods that are floating out in the astral plane. But we'll get back to that. So, or another time. But so Veil's Eve, the veil is thinnest between the shadow realm and the prime plane, and you can have these people that come over from the shadow realm. Now, the problem with that is that when anybody on the prime plane dies, almost anybody, their soul crosses the veil and goes to the shadow realm. At that point, they have no memory of their previous life on the prime plane, and so. But once they get over to the shadow realm, they basically take up and start essentially living their life as they would have in the prime plane. And so you've got, if you were an adventurer in the prime plane, in the shadow realm, you might take up the career of being a pig farmer, but you have no memory of being an adventurer. You have no you basically become zero level experience. And so, but you don't stay on the shadow realm permanently, and there's no set amount of time. Octus is a busy man, or busy god. As if you have watched some of our previous adventures, you know that especially that those first 1 through 3 levels, our adventuring party kept Octus kind of busy. They filled the graveyard in the town of Braunhaven with their adventures. And so Octus being busy, Nobody knows how long you're going to stay on the Shadow Realm. Nobody tells you. And time, of course, flows differently there. It's very, very nebulous. And sooner or later, you will be called forth to Octus's court, and you will be judged. Now, of course, how you acted in the Shadow Realm may influence that judgment, but for the most part, it's what were your actions on the Prime Plane, and that is Octus weighs this and then makes the decision on whether to kick you on up to the Celestial Palace and your heaven awaits, or you get kicked down to the hells, and that's not a nice place. Nobody, including the devils and demons, want to be there. And so this is kind of what's going on. Now, it can be said, of course, you can get to the Shadow Realm in other ways, or better ways than dying. And if you do that, if you cross through the veil and go into the Shadow Realm, the longer that you stay in the Shadow Realm, the more that your memory starts to go away. So, and as I said, time there flows differently. But essentially, as far as game mechanics go, the longer that you stay in the Shadow Realm, the more levels you will lose. You will start to degrade your experience. And when you get to 0 experience, you have no memory of your previous life, and you're basically a blank slate. And this is a permanent loss. You're then considered to be, I guess, dead. I mean, if you've got friends, they could drag you back to the Prime Plane and you could start again. But the longer you stay there, the more you're going to lose. And this is true for the demi-planes as well. So the Shadow Realm has pockets that are they're attached but separate. So most of the time in the Shadow Realm, if you cross into a demi-plane, getting back out is not easy. These are kind of special places. Octus can create a demi-plane out of stuff from the astral plane, and usually these are places, if he has a question about judgment, let's say that, I don't know, let's say that you were overtly evil on the Prime Plane, but you know, Octus isn't unfeeling, and so let's say that you were overtly evil on the Prime Plane, but that was a direct result of some trauma, especially an emotional trauma or something of that matter. He might, you know, stick you in a demi-plane because he can't make the decision. You know, is it fair to send you to the hells after, you know, some terrible tragedy befell you and your subsequent actions caused you to be evil? Well, maybe not. So we'll just lock you into a demi-plane. And it's not fair to, it's certainly not fair to anybody to kick you up to the Celestial Palace. So it's better to just lock you away. And so there are these demi-planes. The Fey Realm is kind of the opposite of the Shadow Realm, and it too has demi-planes that sometimes they're locked away, sometimes they're just, you know, whimsical little special places. It's certainly not as dour as the Shadow Realm. I mean, it's the Fey Realm. It's everybody likes being in the Fey Realm, right? Well, no, not everybody. And that's a story for a whole other time. But that's when elves die, that's where they go. They go to the Fey Realm. They don't go to the Shadow Realm. Generally, they go to the Fey Realm, and they have their own thing that they do over there. That, as far as judgment goes, and yeah, it's all godsy wadsy and very strange. But anyways, so on Veil's Eve in 1153, the veil was particularly thin, and crossing over into the Prime Plane came a vampire, a fairly powerful vampire named Faunestein. And he set up shop and basically terrorized the Braunhaven region for a good, um, I don't know, probably a good 170 years, I want to say. And so, get out of this window. How do I get out of this window? Yep, well, that's almost what I want. Almost. No. Well, this works, I guess. So he he crossed over, and he sets up shop, and the world was really put in the dump. He the people of the world were basically treated as um, basically food sources. He did make a couple of vampires. Well, a couple. He made quite a few vampires, and he treated the people as essentially food and playthings. And he built his castle and empire here, where the capital city of Glaustshine now sits. And so um, he ruled over the land with a despotic iron fist, basically hunting people for sport, hunting people for food, and toying with them for 170 years. And in 980 or negative 983, um, a hero emerges from the peasantry named Gloust. And Gloust was a essentially he's known as the first paladin, and he rallied the peasants to throw up against Faunestein and his armies of undead and fellow vampires, and um, raided the capital. And they, I mean, they had holy fervor on their side, and I mean they took some heavy losses, but they were winning, and total victory was at hand, and at the last minute, and Gloust proceeded to raid the castle itself, and he made it into the lair, the inner sanctum of Faunestein, and a great battle occurred between the two. And the story goes that uh, Gloust staked Faunestein and killed him. But he not before Faunestein was able to um, inflict grievous wounds on Gloust, and Gloust promptly then bled out and um, and succumbed himself. His death prompted the god Navius to consecrate the castle with the holy power of the Council of the 12 Elder Gods, and basically it is now, or was, a consecrated space. And so the basically the empire of the Glaustine Empire was born that day on the principles um, of holy worship of the 12 elder gods, and was named Glaustian Empire after Glaust. And the Faunestein's castle was originally on the location of what is now known as the chapel of the elder gods, and the chapel has become or was a holy site a great church, a great temple, and it was the center for all worship of the 12 elder gods. They paid homage to the older gods as well. They I mean, not quite as much. They paid lip service to them, but they were of course present, and that was all the case until the archdevil Vuslux started marching around the world and kind of corrupted everything. And now the chapel of the 12 gods is kind of, it's been desecrated, and um, both from within and from without. Vuslux was successful in infiltrating and corrupting, and so it is now desecrated. And a new castle was built as the as the imperial capital, and of course Glaustshine grew and grew and grew. But that in between the time of the death of Faunestein and the coming of Vuslux, or his attempt to take over, there was a bit of a heyday there where, you know, things looked up. The founding of the Glaustshine Empire was not an evil act. It grew, and there was great hope across the region until the dark time. So that was the coming of Faunestein. Next time we will talk about the year -700, the birth of Maximilian Tassadantula. So join us next time, and I will see you then. Thank you for watching.